seminar is stress management. So that is one of the things that contributes to your overall health more so than exercise, diet, is your levels of stress. So the approach that we wanted to take for this seminar is to look at stress management a little bit differently. Because when we talk about stress management, we think about like, okay, let's meditate, or let's do self-care, or like breathing exercises, all of that. And all of that's great, and we are going to talk about that, especially when Nancy gets here. But Karen and I were talking earlier today about stress management, and all of that is like a Band-Aid to stress, where it's like, I'm coping with it. So I'm already stressed out, or I'm living a stressful life, and so my breathing techniques or my meditation is just helping me cope with that. So the idea is to learn how to change the way that you approach your life and your day to day, so you're minimalizing stress. And so that's like true stress management. It's not just like triangular breathing and all that, not to discredit that at all, but what happens if you do your breathing but you don't change anything? You're still gonna be stressed out. You're still gonna live a life that's stressful. So we wanted to talk about a couple things that contribute to stress that maybe we don't necessarily think about. And so the first thing is, has anyone, I'm sure you have, Amy, but heard about like thought traps or cognitive distortions? So that's one of the biggest things too, is like our mind can put us in a state of stress at all times. And we don't realize it's doing that because our thoughts become our own reality, because you don't realize that your brain can play tricks on you. And so I wanted to go through a lot of them because sometimes learning about the thought traps and the cognitive distortions, it helps you name them when you experience them. And that can really minimize stress in general. So, you want to pass that out? So the idea is to be able to identify when our mind is playing tricks on us, and to call it out, and to call ourselves out, and to reframe how we're thinking, so we're not constantly repeating these thought patterns that are causing us stress or anxiety or making us feel bad about ourselves. So I'm going to go, I think most of them are in order of the sheet that you see, but anyway, but I'm going to go over them individually, but I'd like to also open it up to see, if you have examples or things that you want to add to that, or you can relate, all that. I don't want to just talk at you the whole time. So, and another thing too is, like I said, our thoughts become our reality, and our thoughts influence our mood and behavior. So if we're trying to make behavior changes, we also have to make mental changes and changes to our thought process. So you can't change your behaviors what's the word I'm looking for? Sustain different behaviors until you change that way that your brain processes things. So the first one, and it was funny because I was going through all these and I was like, me, and all of them. At every point in the day, there's some cognitive distortion that I am using. So first one is all or nothing thinking, also known as black and white thinking. So in general, it usually leads us to unrealistic expectations and standards for ourselves and for others. And that affects our relationship with ourselves, but also with other people too. So, and then it also will determine how we behave and our motivation towards things when we have that all or nothing mentality or outlook. So a lot of the times you'll hear, like, if I don't do something perfectly, then I'm not doing it at all. Or if I don't do it perfectly, then I failed, whatever that is. So you're not as motivated to continue doing that if you feel like, well, I'm never going to do it perfect, or it's not done right, or you don't feel satisfied with it, so you tend to just avoid it altogether. Or, you were disappointed the one time. What did you say?
I said no.
Why would we do that? No way. Don't speak exactly what I'm thinking. Yeah. Exactly. Stop telling them exactly what's on my brain right now. So a good example, like, I guess even in this realm with like health and fitness, is like if you decided that you're going to eat only self-prepared meals, and then one day you don't have time to eat a meal that you prepared or to prepare one, then you eat fast food, which is fine. We've told you that before, like everything is fine in moderation, but then you immediately are guilty, and then you conclude that like you've ruined your healthy eating and you're never gonna be able to do it, so you just decide to not try. And like a lot of that too is we tend to get into this and on a daily level where it's like, well, I already had fast food today, so the rest of the day is a wash too. And it's like not necessarily the case. Like you can have that meal if you didn't have time to prepare something, and you can still do self-care or create healthier meals or more nutrient-dense meals the rest of the day. Like it doesn't mean that you're just ruined it and that like your whole day is ruined, which that is definitely, my daughters are like that. Like, everything's ruined. I'm never doing this again. They bump their head on something. It's like, I'm never doing ice skating again. Yes, right. So does that speak to anyone? The all or nothing thinking?
I think that's a big thing with perfectionism. I think a lot of people who are perfectionists won't try things because they're afraid they're gonna fail at it. Me, speaking to me.
Yeah.
One time I tried playing guitar and I couldn't do it in a day, so I'm like, that's it. It's not for me.
Yeah.
It's a guitar. It's gonna take some time.
Yes.
If you did get it in a day, you're a musical genius.
Yes, right, and that's like,
all we just want to be, though.
yeah, right, perfect and a genius, and everything works the first time we try it. Yes.
First try.
But like a lot, and that also translates over to exercise too, or trying something new when you are working out, where you feel like it didn't go well, or like it didn't, you felt like off that day, and you're just like, well, why am I even trying, you know? And that's why a lot of the reason why we don't like to encourage focusing on weight loss, because it's like you lose weight one day, the next day you're back up because you drink a beer the night before, and all of a sudden now you're bloated and whatever, and then you're just like, why am I even trying? Why am I even doing this? And so that's that all or nothing thinking, and that's one of the ones that sets us up for failure every time, is that unrealistic expectation. Yeah.
I feel like it's really easy to like self-sabotage with that. Like for me in particular so I know Karen, you were there, and Shai, I think you were there too, where like it was probably one of the last exercises during a class. My back started acting up because of that Bertolotti thing that I had. And I started like, I was saying to Jamie, I'm like, I feel like I like couldn't do anything for more than half the class. And she's like, it was literally the last thing we were doing. But my brain started doing, well, I like ruined the class. I didn't get the workout I should have gotten because I didn't just push through it. I didn't do enough. And in reality, I probably lost like 5 minutes of the class because I needed to stretch.
Yes. That's so true. I struggle with that too, especially like with kettlebells, like doing the kettlebell training and training for competitions. So this happened in February, where I was supposed to do a competition at a weight that I had planned that I should have, that's another one that we're going to cover, shoulding. Yes, don't should on yourself. That's like my favorite mantra ever. But my program that I set up, I had unrealistic expectations for myself for a February competition, didn't take into consideration holidays, illness, things like that. If I were to stick to it exactly the right way every week, then maybe. But I didn't because of all that other stuff that we don't think about, all these obstacles. And I started my training set one day and I could not finish it. And then I was so angry with myself. You were there that day where I was like, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I had to admit to myself, but I got halfway through that workout, and because I couldn't continue or finish the set, I was like, I didn't even do anything today. It was just ruined my day. I wasted my time. Yeah. But I still put the reps in. I still, got my heart rate up. I still did all of those things. It doesn't discredit it just because you didn't do it exactly the way you thought you would.
No, when you went to failure, that is,
yeah,
you worked hard enough.
You worked hard. Exactly. So, and that's something that we all experience. I feel like everyone to some extent experiences some kind of perfectionism or all or nothing thinking. Thank you. All right, so the next one is overgeneralizing, which I tell my husband he does all the time, which actually that might be overgeneralizing.
Actually, that's hilarious. Good thing you called yourself.
Yeah, see, you gotta call yourself out. That's why we do these cognitive distortion, because you're calling yourself out, holding yourself accountable for the way that you think. So, overgeneralizing, taking an isolated negative event and turning it into a never-ending pattern of loss or defeat. So, you can usually get triggered like that you're using that type of thinking if you're using words like always, never, everything, nothing, all of that, and they are frequenting your train of thought. Is that everything sucks. I ruined it, or I never stick to my goals, you know. So one that I like to, and I will tell myself, my clients, everything. Like I know, Amy, I've talked to you in a different way about this, but an example would be like missing a week of exercise leads you to conclude that you're never consistent, and that's why you can never reach your goals. It's because you never are consistent, and I ruin everything, and all of that. And a lot of these cognitive distortions go hand in hand, like all or nothing thinking can lead to overgeneralizing, and then it can lead to filtering, which we'll get to next. You just go in this spiral of negative thinking. So that overgeneralization is really important to catch yourself doing, because it's so natural for us to do. It's really hard to stay in the moment and think like, we tend to think like everything's gonna be this way, or it's gonna be like this forever, when it's just a season, or it's just something that's passing. So giving yourself grace and that understanding that if you miss a week of exercise, maybe your body needed to rest, or it doesn't mean you can't get right back on. It just is, it's not gonna be forever is how we can think of it. Yes, Cheyenne.
My therapist always, I'm just doing it. Frequently talks about not to speak in absolutes.
Yes.
And so, like, changing how you talk, just mean like, oh, I never, or I never. No, maybe not never. It's maybe not often, or it's always this way. No, it might be
Sometimes.
It might be sometimes.
Yes.
It might be frequent, but practicing different verbiage, even out loud and in my own head, helps me to like, oh, you're right.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been trying to not speak in absolutes all the time.
Yes.
And my husband, my kids call me out for it, and we call each other out for it all the time. I'm like, no, we're not speaking in absolutes today, or ever.
Yeah, or ever. Ever! Yeah, that's an absolute. It reminds me of The Giver. Do you remember the book The Giver?
So good.
Yeah, where it was like, what did they call it? Where like you couldn't say like I'm starving, because that was like, maybe it was like absolutes or something. You have to like, I wish I remember what the term was, but it reminds me of that. Like you can't overgeneralize, or you can't over exaggerate. You have to, you can't like do anything like that. That's what it feels like, and you have to kind of catch yourself, because like in the book they'd be like, no, speaking in absolutes or whatever it was.
I think it's helpful to also have people that hold you accountable to
Yes,
it.
I was going to commend that too. Yeah. It's because you don't realize that you're doing it as often as you are until, someone calls you out on it. And it's good to be the person that calls yourself out, but sometimes you don't even realize it. And so, so having people hold you accountable is very important too. And then it's also supportive, being supportive. It's not like holding accountable like it's like the police. They're supporting you by helping you change. And then, like Cheyenne was saying, everyone is getting on that train. Like it's not just you. Everyone is trying to be different in how they speak and think. So the next one is filtering, and that's only paying attention to the negatives of a situation.
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
I would never say that.
Yeah, right. I've never. See, now we're not going to be able to talk in class now. I'm like, that's an absolution. Even if there are
when things go wrong, called it.
Yes, exactly. Called it. I knew it.
Knew it.
Yes.
Saw it.
Yes. So it's like the negatives of a situation, even if the positives outweigh the negatives, you still fixate and dwell on the negatives. So an example I like is like your boss gives you a performance review and they're raving about all the great things that you did that quarter, but they had like one improvement suggestion, and you leave the meeting miserable and dwelling on that one improvement suggestion when they've already gone through all the things that you did great, but you're just concentrating on that one, not even negative, just suggestion, but it becomes a negative thing. Like that is definitely, at the college, I work at MCC. For those of you who don't know, I teach at MCC.
Yeah, just learn that.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's how most of us got this job.
Yes.
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 Actually, all of us
I
that are
recruit.
here.
They're all my students.
Yep.
I think it was our last session where I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. I've recruited my students. I get the pick of the litter. I get to raise them to be the type of trainers that I want.
Yes.
That's what you gotta do.
That's right. Exactly. Can't trust anyone these days. But like it used to be this way where I would get like evaluations and they'd be all great and everything, and then there'd be like one, like I'm definitely a perfectionist, and this again goes into perfectionism, but like I didn't get all 4s on everything. Now I'm like, oh my god, I'm terrible. I'm a terrible professor, you know. Or like one negative comment or like constructive criticism, it just like ruins the rest of it. It's like you forget about all the great things that were said or that you've done. And what's that?
They hate me.
Yes, like, y'all hate me. What am I doing?
It's trash. I'm trash, and I am never trying that again. What did you
Just
say
start
when we make a
thinking.
mistake? Well,
I'm never doing
that
it again. Yes. So, and then moving on, similar to filtering is disqualifying the positive. So you discount good things that have happened or that you've done by dismissing them as like, oh, that doesn't count. You know, so like a good example, I've heard this from my own clients where like I would compliment them on their squat form and they'd be like, oh, it's just because it was light. No, you did good squat form. Doesn't matter what the weight was. So it's that kind of thing where you're just discounting it or like that doesn't count or that doesn't apply to me or like if someone compliments like, oh, you look nice today, or it's like, no, I don't, whatever, my hair needs to be cut, or I
haven't showered.
I haven't showered today.
and that person's like, man.
Okay, yeah. Exactly. And jump in if you have anything. I'm just going to keep going through the list, but jump in if you have any other ideas, just because I want to get to everything today. And also let me know if I'm going too fast, because I've had coffee, and I will start going in a second here. So the next one is jumping to conclusions. So interpreting an event or situation negatively without evidence supporting that conclusion. And so then you just react to your assumption. You react based on your assumption. So your actions are based on the conclusions that you jumped to that might not even be real. So there are 2 subtypes to that. There's mind reading and fortune telling. So mind reading is that you're imagining what others are thinking about you or about a situation. So my example would be like a friend of yours is acting quieter than usual, so you automatically assume they're mad at you, when in reality they just had a bad day. And like that's so true. I get that where it's like someone's energy is off. I'm like, they're mad at me. I did something wrong, and then I start thinking about what did we do the last time I talked to them? Like, did I say something bad? And then just start spiraling. Go ahead.
We always try to say like, okay, well, whose narrative are you listening to?
Love that. I love that.
Because John's like, my husband is like, no, did I actually say that? I'm like, no. But so he's like, so it's your narrative,
Yes.
it's your story in your own head that's
Yes.
not actually real. I'm like,
It feels real.
it feels real to me.
Yeah. And then fortune telling essentially is just predicting the future. So if you had a heated argument with a friend, you assume that now things will be awkward, and so you either dread seeing them the next time you see them or avoid them altogether. Because you're like, oh, we're gonna fight, we're gonna get mad at each other, it's gonna be awkward, and that's like predicting the future. Or like thinking you made a mistake at work and you're like, I'm gonna get fired, and that becomes, like Cheyenne said, your narrative, and you start believing that, and then it affects your behavior in general. Go ahead.
One of the things that I think was probably one of the best pieces of advice I've gotten like in the last couple couple of years, is that just like nobody can just know by looking at you what you've experienced that day or what you're going through, you can't know that by looking at somebody else. And so trying to guess what's going on inside their head is never going to actually serve you.
Right.
And I know, like, I've talked about this where, like, I apologize for everything all of the time. But I also am aware that that's my personality type, where I think that I'm bothering everybody. But I'm also self-aware enough that it's not where I'm, like, reading the other person's head, trying to. I'm just like, hey, maybe you're not somebody who enjoys getting a lot of texts. If you're not, please let me know so that I'm not crossing a boundary.
Yeah, it's absolutely, that's a great way to do it. And we're actually going to go over boundary setting, so that's fun. That's a good segue. Not yet, though. Like, let's go back to that. I must have just said the last time.
Mind like that.
Yeah. Me and Kara were talking about, it's like, for a place called Focus, we tend to lose focus very often.
Very distracted.
Yes,
Or like, come to distract
it's a
you.
goal. It's a goal. That's our goal.
That we probably will, not being an absolutist,
Yes.
will never reach. That's reality. That's reality. Okay.
Yes. So the next one's catastrophizing, which is, like I said, all of these, every day, at some point I use these, but catastrophizing is, again, like jumping to conclusions, but now the conclusion you're jumping to is the worst possible case scenario. And then even no matter how improbable that actually is. So usually it's paired with like what if questions. So if you start finding yourself saying, what if this happens? What if this happens? My therapist always tells me like, if then. So it's like if I say, what if this, but if that happens, then we'll figure it out or we'll deal with it then.
We'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
I love that aggression.
Yes. We'll burn that bridge when we come to it.
Not cross it, we're just gonna
Burn it down.
the whole thing down.
Yes, right. Yeah, so like a good example is you can't get a hold of your significant other and you start asking, what if they got into an accident or severely injured? What if they've lost interest in me and they are ghosting me? Or what if they've met someone else they'd rather be with? Like you start to, like, why aren't they talking to me? And then it becomes this whole catastrophizing thing. Then we're into emotional reasoning. So that is assuming that because you feel a certain way, then what you think must be true. So a good example would be like you're convinced something bad will happen today because you woke up feeling some unexplained anxiety. Where that's like, it's just, the energy's off in the air, someone's gonna die. Like that's, like that's type of, you feel like because you feel that way, then that's the reality, and that's not necessarily the case. Another one would be, what?
Oh, or it's an old trauma that you've already
Yes.
gone through that
Right.
your body remembers and you're like, shh, you're safe now.
Yes, right, yes. Doesn't mean something's gonna happen.
Doesn't mean something's
I'll
gonna
say,
Yeah.
one thing somebody said to me one time, because I'm very much just like, oh my goodness, I woke up and I just, like, you're walking around every corner.
Something's
Like,
gonna
is
happen.
everybody okay in your
Yeah,
thing?
yes.
Emotions are good indicators, but not great drivers.
Ooh, I love that.
Amen.
Yes,
Yes, that's
I
great.
love that.
Me too.
But I would
100%.
say on that same token, if you get too fixated on an emotional reasoning like mindset, you, in a negative way, you can create that to be your reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Self-fulfilling prophecy effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if I'm like, oh, I'm annoying Shannon. Eventually I'm going to annoy Shannon. Just like
I'm the most annoying daughter in the world. That's it's gonna be hard.
but also like if I'm
Just
like,
kidding, baby. I love you.
if I'm like, oh, Kat and I are gonna get in a fight, and I just like keep thinking that,
Yes.
I'm going to bring some tension where even if it's not like a full blown fight, it's going to create some friction
Yes.
because it just will, because either I'm going to be acting weird.
Yes.
Or you're gonna
Or-
overread something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes into that that like mind reading too, where it's like, or predicting the future. It's like if I bring this up to my husband, he's gonna get mad, and then I'm already like tiptoeing around because I'm expecting that, and it might not even happen. What are you gonna say?
So I
Sorry.
say, if you believe a lie long enough, it becomes your truth.
Yes.
And like there's even like society studies done on that,
Mhm.
like in groups. So
Yeah.
like what Amy's saying, you say it over and over
Mhm.
to yourself.
Yeah. And then so another example too, and this is one that speaks to me a lot, is like you feel inadequate in a situation, so then you think that I'm just not good at anything then. You know, where it's like something you tried that's new that you didn't maybe do as well as you expected in, and you're like, well, I just suck at everything, so.
Like a guitar.
Yeah, like
What are you talking about?
I'm just not musically inclined and I have poor fine motor skills and
Little hands was the problem.
I get it. I know.
Imagine if you picked
Can't
it
do
up
piano
again.
either.
Yeah, I didn't pick it up. That was 3 years ago. I haven't picked it up since.
My
It's in
husband-
my closet.
My husband also has small hands like me, and they do not. His fingers don't spread as far, but he can still play guitar like no one's business.
There you go. You
I'm
can
like,
still
rude.
do it.
Rude.
Rude.
I gotta wrap
So
my
rude.
hand around
I've
it.
got
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
word
same.
for you. Rude.
Yeah.
Rude.
Just
Those
rude.
are great for violin though.
No, there you go.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. You're just playing the wrong
Perfect.
instrument.
Yeah, see?
You're a
It
fish
is.
trying to
Did
climb
I
a
talk
tree.
to somebody here recently that plays the violin?
I do, but we weren't talking about it.
It's probably
Is
Jamie.
it Sam? No, it might be
because
Sam.
Jamie plays?
Jamie does so many
Jamie
random,
does.
like, cool
Jamie's
things.
good at archery.
Maybe.
Like
Yeah.
who? What?
Right.
What a random thing.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Go Brave.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also-
Yes.
We've talked
Yes.
about your
I actually watched the
Archery.
trailer where you went.
archerist.
Merida.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really
Merida, yeah, that's Cheyenne's indigenous Merida.
Yep.
So the next one is my favorite because I do it so much, where is shoulding. And that's what my therapist has always said, and I've learned in my psychology too, is like that joking, like tongue in cheek, where it's like, stop shooting yourself. You know, you're shooting all over yourself right now. But the important thing to know about should is that it's a judgment. Immediately it's a judgment. And it's it's a subjective rule that you set on yourself or others without considering the specifics of the circumstance. So that creates that consistent self-judgment or judging other people when you feel like someone should act a certain way and they don't. Then it's also, you get into this headspace where it's like very absolute, where there should be without any exceptions. And then because of that, you either engage in or don't engage in behaviors because you think you should or shouldn't do them. And then when things don't happen or the way that you wanted, then you feel guilty, disappointed, inadequate, let down, frustrated, all that. And it's because you're setting expectations that no one's setting those for you. You are setting them yourself.
And cleaning should up ain't fun.
No.
Oh.
Yes,
This
yes.
is my year of should, and
Yes.
I have to go back and go,
Cleaning
oh,
should
shouldn't.
up.
Oh,
Yes.
shouldn't.
Oh, shouldn't.
Shouldn't.
I love that. Yes,
Seriously, it binds you. And
it does.
like overwhelms you.
Yes, and that, like, I like to use that a lot with in the fitness industry too, where it's like we have this even societal expectation that we should go to the gym every day, and that then you end up angry if you don't or you miss a day because circumstances changed, and now you're spiraling because you're like, I'm not doing things right, or I should be doing it this way and I'm not, so I'm inadequate, and it just becomes again this negative mentality, and then you're just spiraling around it, what they call like circling the drain, and not feeling that you have autonomy. It is all expectations that someone else is setting for you, but it ends up being yourself, or it's like
It's a 6-letter curse word.
yes. Okay,
I can count for it.
thank you. I love that. I would do that too. Yeah, so that there's also too a lot of, I like to, we'll talk about it in the intuitive eating seminar, but food police, where it's like you shouldn't eat that, or you shouldn't have too much of that, or you should eat this, and it's like an example I use a lot is like broccoli, where it's like we should eat broccoli because it's healthy, it has all these, like your face, has all these vitamins and whatever, but like most people can't effectively digest broccoli. They get gassy, they get bloated because it's really cruciferous, and so it does, mine too. And so it's like, why? Who said we should? You know, it becomes like, who said? And that's a lot of where the shoulding that you can combat the shoulding. It's like, who said that? Like, who said that? Or it's like, you know what they say. Who's saying it? Yeah, like, tell me.
It's from Robot Chicken.
Who's they? Yes. So shoulding is like, who said that? Who said you should? You know, and it's usually, me. Why?
I think shoulds they can be helpful for direction and like where to go, but it should be a suggestion. Don't put yourself in a box of should.
Guidelines. Yes.
Yes.
Not
Yes.
rules, they're guidelines.
Nobody wants
When
to
you
be in a
start
box
to-
and should.
Right.
Never.
True. When you
I
start
love
to
the
let it
puns.
control you, that's the problem.
Yes.
When it's controlling your behavior instead of being a suggestion to your brain, then it's a problem.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, and I feel like I talk way too much. I'm sorry.
Is there one about apologizing?
Yeah,
and
there
it's
should
not
be
your
one
fault?
of that. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you do wrong?
Yeah,
Not
sorry.
understanding.
what?
Yeah.
I just talk
Take
a
up
lot.
space. It's okay.
I take up space.
Good.
So I have a real problem with should with the medical industry because, for instance, I know Karen and I talked to you about this. My first child would have died if we just went with should, because your cervix should dilate to 10 centimeters, but mine couldn't. It just physically could not go beyond 3 centimeters, and then his heart crashed when I still couldn't get beyond 3 centimeters. So if we just want to go by shoulds all the time, like, then why did we develop C-sections? Why did we develop these other alternatives if should is what it's supposed to be?
Is like the absolute. Yeah, I think it was the same for me with my girls with like nursing, where like breastfeeding, where they're just like, you should breastfeed, like breast is best. Yes, exactly. And I was part of like a lactation group because I was struggling, and like they don't tell you if you get stressed that it actually affects your milk supply.
If you had a breast reduction, I know it doesn't look like it. It doesn't happen.
I had one too.
But
Aw,
you can't
booby
do the
buddies.
same.
Sorry.
Babies.
We're
gonna name James.
Booby buddies.
Some are little babies, we're big babies.
Yeah, but like I was like terrified, and I was talking to my pediatrician, and I was like, she's not eating, you know, like breast is best, and my pediatrician was like, fed is best. So it's like, because I was like, I can't go to formula and whatever, and she's like, no, let's feed them, like let's do that.
Then you're in the store and you're like, do I pay $50 for Pedialyte or do I get the Costco?
I just went to Aldi. I got the Aldi brand.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we did, yes.
So, yeah, everyone can relate on absoluting. We can.
Most of us can relate.
Yes. Hi. Thank you. So shoulding is definitely a problem, especially in women's lives. Like it's very much something that we encounter every day. So I got 2 more for you. We have labeling or mislabeling. Labeling or mislabeling refers to taking a single attribute and turning it into an absolute. So you judge yourself or others based on an isolated event, and usually the labels are negative and extreme. So very common one, being unable to do something and now automatically you're just a failure in general. Or like you say something or you're wrong about something and all of a sudden you're just an idiot and you should never open your mouth. You know, like it becomes an absolute, and then you label yourself as that, and then again that affects how you approach life. Like maybe you're not as open to like speak because you think that everything you say does this sound familiar? You want to go back to the example you said earlier where it's like if you label yourself as what you said, annoying or something, where it's like then you think everyone thinks you're annoying, and it's not true, you know? So it's like it's really important to pay attention to things like that where you're like, just as you would teach your kids, like calling people names is not okay. Well, calling yourself names is not okay either.
Stop lying to my friend.
Yes, right. Yes.
You're my friend.
Stop being mean to my
lying
friend.
her.
Yes.
How dare you?
Well, that's what it is with like I had trouble breastfeeding also, so you think you're a bad mom. And
Yes.
you don't
Oh, that's
and you
huge.
don't want to talk about it with people because you think you're doing it wrong. Cause
Yes.
you say on Facebook, some people, I mean, I had plenty of friends that it was easy for them. I'm like, how do y'all do that?
Here's
And
my
I'm like,
fridge full
well,
of.
I know.
Yes.
And then they donate
Like, I
so
can't
much,
stop
3 years
producing.
later, and
Like,
I'm just like,
1,000
this
extra
isn't
ounces.
working. And I told it to another friend. She's like, well, because she's like 100 pounds, and and so she was like, I can't. And I'm like, you don't have to. Just do as best as you can. I was like, and if you can't do it, you can't do it. I tried the hardest with my first one, and then by the second one, I was like, if you ain't gonna do it, we ain't gonna do it. I'm not even
Yes,
gonna stress
exactly.
myself out about this.
We're ready for formula, let's do it.
He's still super big, so we're fine.
Yeah, we obviously are okay.
Just chucking chicken nuggets at them.
Yes. And that's so true that, like, I'm a bad mom. That one is so prevalent for us, where it's like, we do something that we shouldn't, or it's not, we don't go with the should, and now we're a bad mom. And it's like, I do this like, well, maybe I shouldn't have handled it that way. And then all of a sudden, my brain's like, well, now you're just a terrible mom. When instead, it's just be like, maybe we try something different next
Like
time.
how that should led into that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
that's
have
nice.
a problem with
There you
them
go.
screaming it at us all the time.
Yes.
Yes, they're always screaming at us, so it must be true.
Yes,
They're
right.
screaming 200 times a day.
Yes, exactly.
Something must be wrong. It must
Something's
be
going
me.
on. Yes. And then, this is a perfect segue going into personalizing. So personalizing is the last one I have. There are so many more, so I definitely suggest diving into the cognitive distortions, but these are the most common ones. So personalizing is blaming yourself for events that in reality are completely or partially out of your control. So usually it's accompanied by guilt. You assign blame to yourself while disregarding other factors involved. And then with personalization, you might also take things personally. So that we were just, this literally is exact, I'm so glad you brought that up, because now this is like the perfect example. That's the example I had written down. Whereas your friend is talking about their personal beliefs regarding parenting, and then you take their words as an attack on your parenting style if it doesn't meet up or match up. And that's so true, where it's like, well, I don't let my kids have McDonald's or whatever, and then if you let your kid have McDonald's, you're like, I'm a bad parent, and it becomes,
Chick-fil-A, man.
yeah, Chick-fil-A, all Chick-fil-A, all day, yep, same, all day, Chick-fil-A. So, and that also a good one is, and I don't know what, I was writing this and I thought of you, maybe it's because like the hiking or something, but I was like, you convince, your examples, you convince your reluctant friend to go hiking with you, and they slip and sprain their ankle, and then you blame yourself for convincing them to come on the hiking trip with you.
That's definitely, you put that rock there.
Right. God, this is all your fault. I didn't want to come in the first place.
Somebody goes hiking and they fall and it's like my fault.
Yes.
They don't even know me.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
Damn it, Amy. You said you liked hiking, and I tried it, and I fell and broke my leg, so it's your fault.
Maybe I get hurt a lot. Maybe we shouldn't be friends.
Don't ask her to go
Or
hiking.
maybe.
No, don't take Cheyenne hiking.
Maybe
Yeah.
have a
No,
walk
I'm sorry,
around
is
the
that-
I got
Yes.
shot in the eye
Yes.
with a Nerf dart this
Okay.
last weekend. Damn it, Amy, it was your fault.
Please don't ever go on a slip and slide.
I will avoid those at all costs.
Trust me.
Okay, here we go.
All right, so any questions on cognitive distortions or thoughts, follow-up thoughts? Okay, good. I almost said I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I prepared a lot of information for you today. I hope we get to all of it. I know, I got 13 minutes to go really, really fast. Okay, can
Coffee
you
needs to
hand
kick in.
out the,
I will taste my
all of them.
Okay.
Yes. So I had it so
Here's
we
a
could do,
boundary.
yeah. I had it so we could do an activity in here about boundary setting, but we're not gonna have time to. So Sam's giving this to you. You can do it on your own time. But I just want to go over boundary setting. I think this is really important for stress management, is knowing how to set boundaries and when you need to set boundaries and where you need to set boundaries. So just to go into that is like setting healthy, unapologetic, which I like that word, unapologetic boundaries, offers peace and freedom where life was previously overwhelming and chaotic. So it's a form of self-care. And when you set boundaries or realize you need to, if you practice assertiveness and self-discipline, it can help create the life that you want to live. So overall, boundaries should be based on your values or things that are important to you. So if you value spending time with your family, then setting boundaries about working late is important, or however that works for you. But understanding that your boundaries are yours and yours alone. And then they might align with those who are close to you, but others will be unique, but you need to like not approach it as you need to be apologetic about your boundaries. And one of the things I learned the most about setting boundaries is people who are used to walking all over you will not like when you set boundaries. And sometimes those types of relationships need to end or change. And so that's part of one of the handouts I gave you, but I'll go over those in a second. So signs that healthy boundaries are not in place in your life, whether it's just in general or with work or family or friendships. If you're feeling overwhelmed, check. Just kidding.
Amen.
But not kidding. Feeling resentful for people that ask us for help. Avoiding calls and interactions with others in case they ask for something. Does it apply to children? Making comments about helping others and not receiving anything in return. Feeling burnt out. Regularly daydreaming about dropping everything and running away.
Oh, that's like my favorite daydream.
Yeah, I just ruined it for you. Or having no time for yourself. Amanda, what were you gonna say?
Where are you? Because I can't find it.
Oh, this is just my stuff, and I'll send my notes out to everyone so you can have it. Yeah, sorry,
I was just
not
like,
sorry.
Yes,
No, it was good. I just wanted to read along.
Yes. Oh yeah. No, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I got you.
So anyway, these are, and like I said, I'm gonna send this out to you guys so you have all of that. But so unhealthy boundaries. So sometimes we think we set boundaries, but they're not the best kind of boundaries. So that was a really eye opener for me too, learning about this. But unhealthy boundaries, like a non-existent boundary. So like an example would be sharing personal or intimate details with anyone who will listen, letting others make decisions for you, or accepting disrespectful or abusive behavior. That's non-existent boundaries. Weak or poorly expressed boundaries. So, for example, spending no time apart from a partner, being unable to say no, or supporting unhealthy habits that keep people codependent. Rigid boundaries are also considered unhealthy boundaries. So putting walls up to protect ourselves from others, keeping our distance to avoid getting hurt, or believing we don't need anyone. So if any of those speak to you, or if you feel like boundaries are not in place where they need to be, I have given you guys a couple sheets. They're extra so I can look at the ones that I gave them. Okay.
Workplace,
Yes.
visualizing,
Thank you.
personal.
Okay.
I'll give you one of each.
Thank you.
It's just this.
Okay.
I feel like when you set boundaries, you keep the should at bay.
Yes. Absolutely. That's a really good way to look at. Hi, everyone. Hi, Nancy. Everyone, this is Nancy. I'm doing yoga for us. It's quite smaller than I thought. So.
I got more blankets.
Okay. This.
6, 7, 8, 9.
8, yeah, 9,
9,
including
1,
us.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
Thank you. So your visualizing boundaries handout is a good place to start. So what that is it, you first want to identify where the boundaries need to be set. So identifying if it's with family, work, friendships, or even with yourself. Then you need to visualize your boundaries, state what you want to yourself, and then prepare a plan of action. This is where I couldn't print this out, but I will send it to you guys. But there's examples of what you can say when setting the boundaries. Now, if you're like me, where there is, oh yeah, maybe that'd be good. Thank you. Okay, just kidding. We're gonna print you guys off a copy of what I have.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Samantha.
Did you say brilliant?
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Yes. So if you're like me, I want to set boundaries. I have all of that, but my struggle is communicating them. Like what can I say with a script? Like when I talk to my therapist, I'm like, I need a script. Like, I need words. Because when I get to it, I get flustered and I don't articulate what I really want. And sometimes assertiveness becomes aggressiveness because I don't have that happy medium and I've been, no, you're wrong. I talked for too long. Yes. So having the right things to say. And so there's a section in here that tells you like, I'm not comfortable with this, or I can't do that for you, or I prefer this. Like it gives you terms and ways to approach it in an assertive way, but in a healthy way, So you're not like me walking that narrow path of like aggressive and assertive. So, and in that too, you'll see like once you have those boundaries set and decide what you want to do, there's how you can approach that on here too. Like when you are talking about it, you're using confident, body language, planning ahead. So being able to reinforce the boundary once you set it and planning to do that. So you're not put in an uncomfortable situation. So you have that plan, being respectful, obviously, and then working on compromising. Because a lot of times that is a good way to do it, is you're setting these boundaries, but you're compromising at the same time. So, stop for a second. So it kind of works out this way where this is a really good activity to do for yourself, and that's the visualizing boundaries. And so what you're doing is you're actually writing something out, and you are first reflecting. I'm not going to read because you can read. And I want you to be able to do this on your own time. But answering the questions that are in that reflection, and then the cool thing is draw a circle, and then what you like inside the circle, and that's like what's best for you, and things that serve you, make you feel good, and then what's outside the circle, and that's usually where you can tell where your boundaries need to be set and what stays outside of the circle. And so that is a really good place to start when trying to figure out where you need to set boundaries and how. But then there's another handout too, where it's workplace boundaries. So going through like a work assessment and these things where you feel like you need to set clearer boundaries. And I like this because it helps me be more specific with what boundaries I need to set and how. So, and then you go into what you need, what you want, what you expect. And you can go through that. It's just a good way to, like an outline, to lay it out for you. Okay, moving on. This is another good tool, is the personal boundary continuum. And so it goes into the different types of boundaries, where you have porous boundaries, healthy boundaries, and rigid boundaries. And you can kind of put that on the continuum that you see there too. And I like that it gives you examples of what is a porous boundary, what's a rigid boundary, what's a healthy boundary. Also the book, I think it's called Boundaries.
Set boundaries, find peace.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
So good. Changed my life.
10 out of 10 recommend.
Yes.
And then a really important one, I think this is friendships, but I think it also could apply to other relationships, like with family members or, I don't know, like significant others, stuff like that, but identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships. That's something that is worth going through too, because sometimes we do need to set boundaries with people, even, if they're in our family or we love them, but it's about how the relationship serves you and when it's not serving you anymore, and how it can be. Because you don't, especially with family members, you don't want to necessarily cut them out. Sometimes you need to, but it's harder to when it's family. But this is a good way to, how can I figure out what I want the relationship to look like, and here's how I can communicate that, here's how I can hold myself accountable, here's how I can set up my plan of action to maintain the boundary once I set it. And one thing that I did learn too in my time with boundaries and learning about setting boundaries is that sometimes those boundaries don't need to be communicated to them, they just need to be upheld on your end. Where it's like, you're not just gonna, if you're struggling with someone, say like an aunt or uncle or an in-law or something, like you're not necessarily gonna go up to them and be like, I need to set a boundary with you.
You just moved it a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, right, you just move away from them. Yes, but like you can do it on your end, and that I think gives you a lot of autonomy, and it's freeing, where it's like, on my end, this is how things are gonna change, but it kind of takes it off your plate, or like lifts the weight off your chest, where you don't necessarily have to have this like discussion with them, telling them that you need to like set a boundary with them. It's just how it goes, and how you can communicate and reinforce the boundary once you've decided to set it in a healthy way.
Can I say something?
Yes, go ahead.
I think that what you just said for phones nowadays is huge.
Yes.
Like you are not required to be responding to everyone right away for cell phones. This is the first time that we haven't had time to like, you know, where you used to go back and listen to the messages when you got home, and then
Yes,
you could
when you were
reply
able
when you
to.
needed
Anxiety
to.
now to be like, I have 5 messages I have to listen to. I'm not listening to those.
Yes, right, absolutely. Like, I don't want to do it anyway.
I feel like we put so much pressure on ourselves to respond right away to people, and you don't
Yes.
have to do that.
Right.
That's why, I mean, I have personal focus on,
Me
whatever it's
too.
called,
Yep.
do not disturb on my
That was
phone.
the best thing I've ever
from
done.
9 p.m. to 6 a.m. Like I can get back to you. I might be able to get back to you, but I'm not required to because you know that I'm not at my phone.
Right, which I love
You know-
that about iPhones is it'll tell you so and so has their notifications turned off, so it's not, you know. But either way, it's like you don't have to communicate immediately, you know, to people, and that's like a thing too with boundaries is if they get used to you doing that, it's harder to set the boundary, but it's not impossible. It's still something that needs to be done. You know, that you need to be able to give yourself that freedom. Yeah.
So 2 things. iPhone added a bad feature where, like, for instance, because I know every once in a while I'll send you a text when it says your stuff is silenced, and it'll ask me if I want to.
Oh yeah,
ignore
it's
your
quiet.
thing.
Yeah, quietly
Notify you
notify.
anyway.
Well, it'll be like, do you want to override the thing? And I'm like,
Yeah, you're like,
it's me.
I want to talk to you.
Especially because, like, I start work at 5:30, so I know occasionally I'll, like, text at, like, 5:15. Like, that would be so rude if I'm just like,
Excuse me.
hey!
Yeah.
Get off! Tell you this now!
Pay attention to me. Yeah, we were just talking about that where it's like, she's also like, and I get up early too, but we were just talking about where she's like, I don't feel bad sending you a text at 5 a.m. because I know your notifications are off and you'll get back to me when you can. And it's so important.
See,
And
but I've gone the other way, and I'm like, well, you should have had it on Do Not Disturb.
yeah, right. You don't want to talk to me. Yes.
But,
I think. Go ahead.
oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Nope. Go ahead.
But with what you were saying about how people have gotten so used to people responding right away,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I was coached on for boundary setting with, especially with like family members who don't seem to get it, is instead of telling them you're setting a boundary, is saying, here, I'd like to make this agreement with you. I'm not glued to my phone, and so then it's an agreement so that they
Yes.
feel like
A
they're
compromise or
They were
agreement.
part of the
they
decision.
Yes.
feel like
Yeah.
they're
Love
part of the
that.
decision, even though they're not. That like I don't always have my phone on me. I'm making the decision to be less on screen time.
Right.
Can we make this agreement that as soon as I get the opportunity to check my phone, I will respond to whatever you've sent to me,
Yes.
or I will call you back, or whatever the case may be. And then, of course, they're gonna say they agree because
Yeah. But then you had the conversation. Now it's like
Yeah.
now you're not upholding your end of the deal. You know.
yeah.
If they don't, or they get upset with you, and like, I don't think I said it before, but like all of these things can also be applied to boundaries with yourself too. I think we very much lack that, like that,
Self-accountability.
yeah, self-accountability or setting those boundaries with yourself. Like that's I thought you were kind of going to get into when you talk about like your phones. But yeah, like setting boundaries about being on your phone, or like what you Jamie I think talked about it this last seminar, that like she got banned from Instagram because she unfollowed so many people.
Oh, yeah.
At once they thought she was a bot. Yeah. But she's like, I was doing that for self-care. There was a bunch of accounts that I followed that didn't serve me well. They made me anxious or feel guilty or insecure, and so I just unfollowed them. And so it's like setting those types of boundaries too with yourself is very important. So I highly recommend doing those, as many of those like worksheets as you can, because it's a really good way to direct your thinking and help kind of file things away where they need to, instead of being like I'm someone who can't work on a blank page. You know, like I see a blank page and I freak out. Even if I change everything written on there, I still need an outline or some kind of format, and then this always has helped me too. I had time management, but I just will give you guys, like I said, you're gonna get, I think Sam's printing them out, so you'll get everything on there. But I also wanted to give you guys just a quick time management tips worksheet.
We have it.
Oh, you have it. Okay, good. Yes. So a lot of these really speak to me, and I'm sure that they will for you as well. But there's a lot of, if you research time management skills, there's a lot on there that are that maybe you didn't think of. You know, I think it was when I was researching to find more specific ones. There's, I think they said Mark Twain, eat the frog. Did you hear that one? I didn't hear about this. I was like, what?
It sounds like something Mark Twain would have done.
Would say, right? But it's like you eat the frog first.
Yeah.
So it's like whatever is your most difficult task, you eat the frog and then you can move on with your life. So it's like whatever's the most daunting thing that you need to get done, doing that right away and just getting it over with.
That literally makes me want to throw up.
I know.
It's
Eating a frog.
like eating broccoli right away.
Yeah, right.
All the
Eat
bad
food
food goes first,
All
and then
the
you
bad
get the good
food goes
food.
first.
I'll have
Yes.
room for that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I'm
Yeah.
from the South and I didn't eat frogs. So.
No frog legs or anything.
Frog legs are delicious.
Yeah, ugh, can't do it. But I wanted to go, this is the, you can go over the time management stuff, but I really wanted to talk about, something that I had learned. Me and Cheyenne have talked about this over and over. Did you bring yours? She did. So, it's something called a stress relief kit. So you look at it as, like a survival kit, or like a first aid kit, or an emergency kit. And it's when you're feeling like you are very overwhelmed and very stressed, and having a kit like this will help you cope in a healthy way than going towards or leaning towards unhealthy coping mechanisms. So when you have something that's easily accessible that really helps you calm down, it is a game changer. And it doesn't have to be very intricate or this big thing. It's just something that you organize together. Like I used to have my students do a homemade first aid kit where they had to like go around their house and find things that they could use in an emergency. It's the same thing, similar idea, but it's like your emergency is you're overwhelmed, you're stressed, you need something to like decompress and to relieve your stress. So benefits is you get a quick relief from overwhelming stress and anxiety. Like I said, it prevents you from turning to unhealthy coping mechanisms. It gives you personalized stress relief because one size doesn't fit all. We were talking about this today, but something like with my therapist, we'll talk about my stress and everything. I was like, do not tell me to do breathing techniques. I know that that's supposed to help, but it's not going to help right now. You know, or it's like, don't tell me to meditate because that makes me more anxious and like, whatever. So
I'm just sitting with these thoughts.
yes, right now I'm sitting here and I'm picking at my skin and my hair and whatever. But it's this kind of thing, it gives you that, like, where you know it's going to be successful. You know, you don't have to do things just because you should. You know, like, I'm stressed, so I should meditate or I should do these breathing techniques. Instead, you have this relief kit that helps you. So, some suggestions that you can put in, but really it's whatever works for you. But it could be, this is like the rules of thumb, for rule of thumbs. No.
I've got two.
Yeah, that too.
Maybe
Yeah, I got
we'll
2
see.
thumbs. Yes, right. That where it was something scented, and it's a lot of, if you think about the 5 senses. So something scented that makes you calm, like an essential oil, a candle, a perfume, something in there. Something to write with. So like your favorite pen or marker. Everyone has their favorite like gel pen, you know, like that one. Put it in there. Something to write in, like a pad of paper or some like a little journal or something like that. Affirmation cards is a suggestion. Something tasty, like candy gum or a snack to put in there. A note from someone you love. Some kind of distraction, like a book of poems, a storybook, coloring book, something to distract you from whatever's feeling like it's suffocating. You know, you just need something to take your mind off of it. A photo of your family or someone you love, significant other, children, pets, friends, just something in there. A self-care product that makes you feel comfortable, like lotion, chapstick is my go-to. Like if I have my day is much better once I have my chapstick. Or like I laughed at this, but this is so true too. It's like a travel toothbrush and toothpaste. You just feel better.
You feel so much better.
Yes, like if you're
After
upset, you
brushing
go brush your teeth, you just feel great. You
I
know?
wash my face with cold water.
Yes.
And then I brush my teeth, and I'm like, I can take
I have
on
like
the
a
world.
cooling face lotion too. It's just like, and a lot of too, if you're like in like a lot of therapists and psychologists will say like for overwhelming like panic attacks or something, temperature is very effective. So like putting your hand in ice or you know, going somewhere really warm or something like that just drastically change whatever temperature you are running at, which for me, I'm always running hot, so ice buckets are good for me. Just dump in.
The winter's easier.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Just go outside.
I just go right outside. Yeah, in the snow.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
literally would go outside and
Yes, yep. They would get to the point like my kids are overwhelming me. I would go out even if like below zero and just sit there for like a minute or two. And it's like breathing in the cold. It just really changes things. And then something that will make you smile, like a funny quote, stickers, a toy, a keychain. Yes, it's time for the gratitodes. Okay, so this is my favorite part of today. Giving you a, what'd you say? Second, you're right. Your part is the favorite. So, oh wait, but first I want to show my kit really
Are
quick.
those ducks?
Nope. Yeah, hold on. Okay, so this is my kit. I have a book of poems in there. I have a little short stories, thank you. Short stories book, like they're little cute old-timey romance stories.
Are you gonna pull like Mary Poppins?
Yeah, it feels like it,
Yeah,
right?
it's like a.
This one, I have that sheet I gave you. I made flashcards with cognitive distortions.
You did.
So of course I did,
You're
right?
adorable.
So if I'm like freaking out, I'm like, which one am I using today? Oh, all of them. Okay. I have eucalyptus essential oil, and it's very very concentrated. So one you can smell it. Yeah.
My brain would just say a ukulele.
Ukulele. Yeah. Got a rabbit in here. Yes, a rabbit. My pet is in here. I have a little picture my daughter drew as of me as a kettlebell queen.
Are you juggling those?
Yeah, it looks like that. I don't know. My favorite flower is sunflowers, and my sister wrote me just like a note, a sweet note that's like, I'm always in your corner if you need me, you know. So, and she obviously put it in that cute little thing. And then I have my favorite pen. I bought more so I could use the other
I was
ones,
gonna
but
say.
this is like,
You hate having to look for your favorite.
yes. And then I have 2 baby journals, one for positive thoughts and one for negative thoughts. So it's like if I'm having overwhelming negative thoughts.
Sorry, when you said baby, I thought I was like, wow, she's such a good mom.
I have all their baby pictures.
Yeah, all in one. Baby journals, like, as in small. Yes. But like anytime I've had like an anxious thought or like a self-deprecating thought, I write it in here, and it's almost like you write it down, it's gone. Sometimes I was taught too, where it's like you write it down, you tear it out, you crumple it up, and you throw it away. You know, so or burn it down to the ground.
Like on Bluey, when they take the anger.
Yes, I love that episode.
So
Yes.
good. Louise.
Love Bluey.
Reparenting
Yes.
me.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes. And I used to have like the Werther's hard candy caramels, but I ate them all. But it's because they reminded me when I was a kid. And now you guys will have a start to your kit.
Like your handyman?
So I actually, Sam gave me this idea in a way, like not knowingly, but Sam bought all these teeny tiny baby ducks. And she, yeah, right, and that's it. Like she'll hide them places.
Single-handedly cured my depression.
Yes, well, and then you find them, and you're like, this is so cute. And I have a client. Some of you may have seen her, but she has like severe social anxiety, and she is essentially a client of mine. But we don't personal train. We just hang out, and like it's more of like her overcoming her social anxiety, and it's been amazing. Like we know how we have things here, but like her coming in, she came in the first day, her hair is all in her face, and she's like sobbing because she's mad at her mom because her mom made her come to like meet with me and everything, and I just talked to her, and she was so sweet. She's like, you should be a therapist, and I was like, maybe I should. But anyway, but now like her demeanor is always like way different. She just comes in like she owns the place, says hi to everyone. But anyway, she was having a particularly bad day, and I don't know if you knew she was or not, but she always puts her coat or her sweatshirt or whatever in my office, and Sam hid one of these cute little ducks in her pocket of her jacket, and she went home and she found this teeny duck and just loved it so much. And then like she found another one in my office because Sam hides them, and she was so elated about this tiny duck that she found, and she's like collecting them. And so anyway, with that, because they're so cute, and they just give you this dopamine rush. So I have, and I'll let you guys pick them out. But there's like some symbolism behind these. These are not ducks; these are frogs.
Oh, I was thinking ducks.
But you can have ducks too,
I have
if
ducks
you
too.
want. Yeah, you can also have ducks. Yes. But so the story behind these is they're called gratitodes. So if you think about like worries and anxiety, they're like a mosquito that just like makes you question everything, and it buzzes around you, and it's so annoying. And like the cure to a buzzing mosquito is a frog or a toad that eats it. So you're gonna get a gratitode and to put in your little kit. And so you look at it, every time you look at it, you think of something that you're grateful for. And it helps you stay present, not worry about the future. It's just practicing gratitude, but gratitude. So you can pick whatever color you want. There's yellow on the bottom too. And if you want a duck, you can.
It's my favorite color. So.
This has nothing to do with this, but made me think of it. Does anybody know why Jeep people keep ducks on
No
their
idea.
Yes.
Yeah, do you do it? I'm sorry, I'm
Someone trying to move for the Subaru. Like what?
Yes, of course. You can do many things.
Well, it's like a mix between these two.
Yes, we were just, did you check it?
Yes,
Yes.
and I'm like, I got a big ass one on my knee. I gotta get it. Exactly.
Yeah, you can't look at these and be like, not be like, oh my god, they're so
Totally done this time.
They're a lot better.
I
There's a
love
lady
it.
at my church who has a little baby, and the little baby's creepy. So I'm
I'll
gonna
take the toes. Yes.
That's what it came from.
I know, they're so cute. I love them so much. I gave them to one of my clients today, and she was like, oh, thank you. I love it so
I have a
much.
tiny bunny
You're about-
that some little girl gave
What are you
me in the
doing?
library, and it's in my
Oh,
bag.
that's so cool.
Like a whole collection of little
Do
things.
you hide one up there?
Like the little girl in me is
Oh, yeah, there's Josh.
Josh will just jump and put it up there.
If I he is a toad.
He's a toad. Yeah, human toad.
Frog, right? Frogs actually.
Yeah, frogs are,
I wanna
but
say-
gratitoad.
That'd be enough that it would.
I wasn't sure if that was a wobbly.
Get in the
one.
spot. Get in the spot.
So, anyway, do we have any like questions or thoughts before I pass it over to Nancy?
I just want to say thank you for these.
If that's all you take away from it, I would be happy with your little gratitude. No, I know. But like, it's so, it's so silly, but they make you so
Got it.
happy. These cute little colorful frogs and ducks, like they just
I'm going to have
make
to
things
post
better.
that for my children.
Yes.
I think mini just
Yes.
makes
Well, have you heard of the mini
feel
gene
better.
Yes.
that women have?
The what?
The mini gene? Like there's a gene.
Oh, like
inside
that loves mini things?
that loves
Yeah.
mini
Oh,
things, which is
I'm
like
all
why
in on
we
that.
love the travel section.
Yes.
Yes.
Minis, yeah.
So true.
Yep.
Protective
I'm
instinct,
sorry
I
you
think,
don't
for
have that
babies.
gene.
I think so.
It's okay.
Okay.
Are you talking about the 180 ducks she's hidden around
Oh
my
yeah,
house?
yeah. Samantha's hidden like 180 of them around Josh's house.
Yeah.
Something else that they were eating them too. Oh, I've
Yeah, they
seen-
do.
I've seen
Just
that
wait till
little
you get the
guava
mini,
can
Charlie
bear
Fruits
things
right
and
over.
not killing things.
That's funny.
Like as like I'm
Alright,
gonna get
Nancy, do you need to
chunks. Yeah.
That's horrible.
But they had like a little smiling bear,
They're
like
so
wombat,
cute.
like they're super cute, and it was no.
Oh my god.